Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So this video is going to be just a little bit different because I'm actually sitting on my floor and Rio is helping me film today. Say hi! Hi buddy. So because I'm sitting on the floor, he's probably going to come sit on my lap. One of the cats probably will. Anyways, I have a couple stacks of books here and some lists and stuff, and to be honest, it just sounded a lot better just sitting on the floor. So we're filming from the floor and you get to see the bottom of my bookcase today. So today I'm gonna go over what I read in May, and it was actually a really good reading month for me. We did travel a little bit, so I did read during that time a lot. Also, I did the buzzword readathon for the word girl, and I read 3 books for that, which is pretty good for me in a week. So I had an overall really good reading month. So let me go through what I read. So the first book I listened to on Audible, and that book was The Rest of Her Life by Laura Moriarty. And that I read that for the Pop Sugar Reading Challenge, and the prompt was a book by a local author. And I believe that the author, I know she's from Kansas, but I believe she lives in Lawrence, which isn't too far from me. And I've actually read that book before. I read it several years ago. And when I was looking up local authors, I came across that book. I knew it sounded familiar, but I didn't have it on my Goodreads as read, because probably when I read it I didn't have Goodreads at the time, and I couldn't really remember how it ended, so I wanted to go back and read it anyways. So I did listen to that on Audible. Overall, the book was pretty good. I gave it 3.5 stars. So part of that is because the first time through I remember actually having the book. This time around the narrator was good on Audible, however they kept putting this like strange music here and there. Like, it wasn't necessarily in between chapters, but maybe like sections of the book, and it did not fit with the book at all. The music was really annoying. It was the same like 20-second clip over and over again, and I don't know, I just, like, the first time it did it, I think it did it at the opening, and I was like, okay, whatever. Sometimes audiobooks do that, you know, and that's fine. But it kept like going. I think it went like 5 times maybe throughout the book, and it was just like driving me nuts. It was just like nails on a chalkboard. I couldn't stand that little tune. So that really annoyed me with the Audible version of it. But like I said, the narrator was really good. So basically the book is from a mother's point of view, and her daughter gets in a hit and run accident where she's actually the driver, and she hits a fellow classmate in a crosswalk and kills her. So that's not a spoiler, that's how the book starts off right off the bat. But what's interesting is, instead of focusing on the daughter or having it be from the daughter's point of view, it comes from her mom and kind of how her mom reacts and deals with it. And it also flashes back a lot into the mom's childhood and kind of the relationship or lack of relationship with her mother. It's very interesting to kind of see how how the mom Lee deals with her daughter Kara. So it was a good book. It was a very different perspective. Like I said, it's kind of a somber book just because there is a death and kind of just an unfortunate circumstance for everybody, but it was a good read, good quick read. So the next book that I read was A Court of Wings and Ruin. This is the 3rd book in the A Court of Thorns and Roses series, and I actually started this one in April, and I had every intention of finishing it in April, but I just got in a really bad reading slump in April. If you guys watched my last if you watched my April reading wrap-up video, you'll kind of hear me talk about that. Like the last 2 weeks of April, I just did not read. So it took me until May to get this finished, but it was good. It's a little deceiving because, so the second book, A Court of Mist and Fury, is my absolute favorite of all the books. That's kind of the general census with the A Court of Thorns and Roses fans, is that the second book is everybody's favorite. And it was mine as well. So the second book looks really huge compared to this one. However, somebody pointed out that the paper in this one is a lot thinner, which is kind of weird. You never think about it, but they actually have like almost the same amount of pages. So this book was like 700 pages long as well. So like I said, it was good, but it took me a little bit longer to get through. Part of it was the reading slump, and I think part of it was, even though it was good, it wasn't quite as fast-paced and intriguing as A Court of Mist and Fury. It started off kind of fast-paced and really had my attention, and then it kind of slowed and lulled a little bit in the middle, and then the end was really good. So overall, I still really like this series. It's one of my favorite series I've ever read, and I gave this book a 4.5. And I think I gave the second book a 5 and the first one a 4.75. Like, after I read each book, I kind of went back and tweaked, because at first I had them all at 5, but I realized that, you know, I do like one over another So I wanted to tweak my ratings to reflect that just a little bit. So this was a 4.5, still a really good read, like a really good solid read. I commonly give books 3s and 4s, like most like 3.5. I'm kind of meh on like a lot of books. So you're not gonna get a 4 or 5 unless I really like it. And the books that I give 5s are like the books that I would totally reread, which I would reread this series if I didn't have so many books to get through. Yeah, very good series. Definitely go check it out. I'm not gonna give any hint into the what the book's about because I don't want to ruin it for you guys that haven't read book 1 or 2 yet. And I can't really talk about this book without giving away something. So I'm just gonna leave it at that, and definitely go check out the series. All right, and the next book that I read was actually for the buzzword readathon, and it was for the word girl, so you had to read books with the word girl in it. And the first book that I read was Fangirl, and oh my gosh, it is one of my favorite books. It is a YA contemporary, and I gave this book a 4.5. And the only reason I didn't give it a 5-star is just because some of the parts felt like a little young to me, which is fine. It's totally a YA, but some of the parts were like a little like corny maybe. I don't have specific examples. I just remember reading it, and I should have took notes when I read it, but I remember when reading it, I was just kind of like, that's kind of weird, you know, or whatever. The whole like fandom thing, I liked the idea of it. Like, I love that Kath was really into Simon Snow, but when she was reading her own fan fiction, like those parts got a little boring to me because I didn't really care to read about Simon Snow. I wanted to read about Kath. Like, I wanted to know what was going on with her. So, you know, that's the only reason why it didn't get a 5-star from me. Other than that, this was a great book. I've talked about it a couple times. If you guys follow me on Instagram, it was all over my Instagram stories. There's so many quotes from this book that I love. And I connected with Kath so much. I felt like I could have been her twin. She is a twin, but I felt like I could have been her twin. She is kind of an introvert. She kind of does her own thing. She doesn't like being around a lot of people. She gets uncomfortable easy, doesn't like confrontation, like totally sounds like me. I feel like if Kath were a real person, her and I could be really good friends. There was just so many like parts about this book, and it was so unique. This is my first Rainbow Rowell book, and I will definitely be reading more. Just like there's just so many little things, like the emergency Kanye dance party. Like, I don't even like Kanye, but holy cow, that sounds like so much fun. I also read this for the Pop Sugar Reading Challenge for a book with characters who are twins. So Kath has a twin sister, Ren. Basically, they are pretty inseparable, and they both are obsessed with Simon Snow and like writing fan fiction together. And then when they go to college, Ren kind of wants to do her own thing, and she doesn't want to room with Kath, and Kath doesn't know how to deal with that because she's always known life like with her sister. So it kind of goes through her struggles with her sister, like going out, meeting people, partying, enjoying college, and Kath kind of being the secluded one, not wanting to leave her dorm room. She still loves writing her fan fiction and loves Simon Snow. She feels like her sister doesn't really enjoy that as much anymore. There is a relationship in it. She does meet a guy. I will not say who yet. I don't want to give away anything. She also has a roommate who is completely opposite of her, but like the relationship between her and roommate is like weird, but it's really cute. Like, I really like it. And I feel like her roommate, like we all know a girl like that from like high school or college. Kath and Ren's dad is their sole provider. Their mother left when they were younger, and Kath has a lot of issues with that. Like, she's still dealing with that as well, and that kind of comes up a couple times throughout the book. I think it's really sweet how she cares for her father. Like, I mean, everybody cares for their parents, but her father has some kind of mental health issues, and Kath like really steps in and takes care of him, and I just think that's really sweet. And I just like the father-daughter relationship in this book as well. But anyways, 4.5 stars, one of my favorite books, and I highly recommend this. All right, and the next book that I read, I actually borrowed this from a friend, and it's from Book of the Month, but I read Two Girls Down by Louisa Luna. I also read this for the Buzzword Readathon. This is a thriller, kind of like crime thriller. It's about two girls who get abducted. It kind of goes back and forth from the point of view of the mother of the girls to this private investigator that gets hired in. She specializes in finding missing kids. I really like her. She's a really strong character. She's a badass for sure, but she's really good at what she does, even though her methods may be a little unconventional. She may be a little rough. She kind of says what she thinks, but her tactics really work. She's super smart. Oh, and her name's Vega. I think Alice Vega. Anyways, so she ends up partnering up kind of with this former cop, now private investigator, Cap. I think his name's Kaplan, but they call him Cap. Anyways, he resigned from the police department. There was a situation that he was involved in, and instead of throwing somebody else under the bus, he resigns to keep somebody else from getting in trouble, basically. He's a really good guy. He's raising his daughter. Him and his wife have split up. They still have a decent relationship, but it doesn't really talk about his ex-wife too much. His daughter's a really good kid, and her and her dad have a pretty close relationship. They kind of take care of each other, so that's really sweet. Vega persuades Cap to work with her to find these girls. It's just a really good thriller. I really like crime books that don't give away like where the victim is or any points of view of the suspect to kind of like give it away. I really like when it's just like you're investigating as well, like when you are kind of working the case on your own. And I like guessing the entire time like who it is or what happened. So with this book, there was a lot of players in it, so there's kind of a lot of people thrown at you, and it kind of seems like it's going off track just a little bit. But there was one particular character that rubbed me the wrong way, and I ended up being right that this person was involved in the abduction of the girls. So I didn't guess the entire thing. The ending totally surprised me, like of how it all had happened, but I was right about one thing, so that made me really happy. But anyways, it was a really good book. It was a very quick read. I could not put this down. The ends of the chapters just made you want to keep going. It was just hard to stop reading this one. So I gave this 4 stars, very good read. And the next book that I attempted to read for the Buzzword Readathon was Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl. However, this was a did not finish for me. I gave it 100 or so pages. I usually give a book 100 pages. And I just couldn't get into it. I don't know if it's just because I came out of reading Fangirl and 2 Girls Down, and they were really good 4 and 4.5 star books for me, but I just couldn't get into this. Part of it was like the format, like the writing format. It was more like dialogue. Like, I don't even know if I can, let me see if I can show you like what I mean. But like a lot of it was just like this, like dialogue. And I don't know, it really drove me nuts. So it is a YA contemporary. I know there is a movie about it. I have not watched it yet. I think the idea behind the book is good. I didn't really get far enough into it to, I mean I did. I got 100 pages into it. I got like a third of the way through it. But like nothing was happening. It was pretty boring. I can see that it probably does get good, but I kind of flipped ahead and the format, the dialogue kind of stayed consistent throughout the book, and I was like, I was over it. Like I was just so bored I couldn't read it. So unfortunately this was a did not finish. I might try to pick it up and read it again later, but I don't know. Maybe I need to watch the movie first, and maybe if it's good, that'll get me more interested in reading the book and seeing if it's consistent with the movie. I don't know. I just couldn't do it. So sorry if you guys like this book, but it was just not for me. Okay, and the last book that I read for the Buzzword Readathon is Pretty Girls Dancing, and this one I actually didn't finish within the week. I finished it shortly after, but I was listening to this one on Audible, and the only reason I didn't finish it is because we were on vacation and we were at my in-laws, and I didn't have like good opportunities to be listening to a book, and when we were all like sitting around hanging out, I didn't want to have like headphones in and be ignoring everybody. I was listening to it like on the drive home and stuff, but I didn't get it finished, so I finished it shortly after. But anyways, this was basically it's a free book if you have Kindle Unlimited, and like I said, it does have the audio format, so I listened to it on Audible. And I was listening to this, I overlapped this at the same time I was reading 2 Girls Down. So I only gave this book 3 stars, and I think it's just because I didn't like it as much as 2 Girls Down. It was very similar. It's about a girl that gets abducted. She is older than the sisters in 2 Girls Down, but there's actually been like a series of girls that have been abducted. And so they're kind of finding out that the cases may be connected, or, you know, they're trying to figure out if the cases are connected. So I think just because they were so similar, you know, that's why I really compared them. So I didn't like this one as much, but it was a decent read. I enjoyed the Audible version of it. I don't know if I would have liked it better if I would have like had a physical copy to read or not. Basically, a teenage girl gets taken. There's a lot of players in this book. It kind of jumps around. It does have the perspective of the victim, the girl that was taken. There's another girl that was taken like years before, and it kind of jumps into the point of view of her sister and her mom and her dad, and then also the dad of the girl Whitney that was just taken, to the cops, to the investigator. You know, it kind of jumps around to a lot of people. So it was a little hard to keep straight at times with all the people involved in it, but it was really good. I was not expecting how it ended. Like, it was not who I thought it was. It was a lot different than I anticipated. I think another reason why I didn't enjoy this one as much as Two Girls Down was because like you knew the whole time that Whitney was alive and like what was happening to her, so there wasn't as much of a mystery. I mean, there was, because you were still trying to figure out like who took her and who did it, but like you had some inkling of like where she was and what was going on, so it wasn't quite as much of a mystery in that aspect, which in Two Girls Down, they didn't know if the girls were still alive. So, and the other thing is this one, the captor was obviously had some psychological issues, but he like made her dance for him, like put on like ballet slippers and stuff and like practice and dance over and over, and that was kind of weird. Like, I don't know, it was just a little bit weird to me, which obviously like kidnappers and murderers aren't going to be like super charismatic normal people, but yeah, he had some like weird quirks about him, and I don't know, it was just kind of a weird situation. But anyways, overall, like the ending surprised me. It was a little bit unexpected as of what happened, so I did give this book 3 stars. So the next book that I read was Trespassing, and this was also a free book on Kindle Unlimited. This book did not have an audio version, but I actually read it on my Kindle app on my phone. So I don't prefer doing that just because I have a small phone and it takes me like a lot longer to read because I can't like stare at it forever. But I started this one on vacation because I stopped reading Me and Earl and the Dying Girl. I didn't have another book to start, so I just pulled up my Kindle and just found one of the books on my library in there, and this was one that I had downloaded because it sounded good when it came out in April. So this book was really good. And sorry, my phone is being a pain in the butt right now. My internet's not working, so I can't see what I rated it, but I'm pretty sure that I rated it 4 stars. So this book is a psychological thriller. The whole time you're at the perspective of this woman, Veronica, and it kind of starts off with her daughter, Elizabella. They call her Bella. They are basically at her daughter's therapist, and her daughter has an imaginary friend named Nini, and they are basically kind of like hinting that she might have multiple personality disorder or schizophrenia or something like that. Basically that her daughter has like some kind of like mental health illness. They introduce Veronica's husband, who is a pilot for a private corporation, and her daughter ends up like drawing this picture, and it's basically of her dad's plane crashed, and she said that her dad went to Godland. Also, when Veronica takes her to school, the teachers are under the impression that Micah died from Bella. So Veronica is like really confused because he's obviously like alive and well, and so she doesn't know what's going on. And this Nini character, her imaginary friend, is supposedly like saying all these things to Bella about her dad and going to Godland and stuff like that. So she keeps repeating this like kind of creepy like nonsense. Anyways, fast forward, and her husband leaves for work and doesn't come back. Basically, it kind of follows Veronica through the steps of like what happened to him, calling the cops, getting them involved, trying to call his parents, that kind of thing. Also, they have been trying to have another child, so she's been going through in vitro. She has already lost a set of twin boys, along with several other miscarriages. So part of it goes through like her being on like the hormones and stuff for that. And the entire book, like, you kind of think Veronica's a little crazy. Like, she kind of sounds crazy. It plays through her mind, like everything that she's thinking and going on. But towards the end of the book, like you don't know like who's who to trust, what's real. Is she making all this up? Is she thinking all this in her mind? Is she having a nervous breakdown? Is she really the one that has multiple personality disorder? Like, what's going on? And it actually had me like feeling like that I was a little bit crazy. I don't know, it was so weird. Like, I just started like stuff with everyday life. I'm like, oh my gosh, did that really happen, or did I dream that, you know? So it was a really good book. It was really hard to put down as well. The ending was different than I thought. I really didn't know where it was going. There were so many different directions. I'm like, you know, is this girl crazy, or is she really onto something? Is she right? Like, what happened to Micah? There's all these little things that kind of come about. and you just, like I said, you don't know who to trust, and you don't know what the truth really is until the very end. So very good book, very hard to put down. If you guys have a Kindle, go check it out. I think it's pretty cheap on Kindle, but yeah, if you have Kindle Unlimited, it's free. And like I said, I think I gave that book a 4-star rating, but my phone's kind of acting up, so I'm not really sure, but I'm pretty sure I gave it a 4-star. Okay, and the next book that I'm actually currently reading, I'm almost done with it. Today's the last day of the month, so I think I will have it done tonight, is I am listening to Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets on Audible. So I've read the Harry Potter series twice, and this is my 3rd reread, so I'm going back through and I'm listening to all the books on Audible. And let me tell you, if you've never listened to the Harry Potter books and you're a fan, you definitely need to go listen to them. It's a whole nother experience. The narrators are fantastic. It just kind of brings back the whole like magic of it and just all the feels, and I don't know, like it's such a great way to reread like some of your favorite books is by listening to them. The Harry Potter books on Audible are fantastic. So it's just, I love listening to books like while I have downtime at work or while I'm driving or walking or whatever. And it's just so much fun to go listen back and hear about all the characters, and it's just like there was a lot of things that I forgot in the book, so it's kind of cool just going back and listening to them again. So I'm currently rereading that, which it'll obviously be a 5-star. All the Harry Potter books were 5-star reads for me. This was just kind of like a little fun read. And then the last book that I am still currently reading, but I hope to have finished tonight, I should because I don't have very many pages left, is A Court of Frost and Starlight. This is the 4th book in the A Court of Thorns and Roses series. I almost said trilogy, not a trilogy anymore because this is book number 4. So this book is a novella. It's a lot shorter. It's like 300 pages. It's a lot shorter than like her other books. And basically if I understand it right, so there was the first trilogy, then this novella is kind of bridging it to the next trilogy, so the next set of 3 books. So I've read reviews on this book, so I kind of had, not like a spoiler, but a lot of people are let down, a lot of people are disappointed. So I'm pretty sure that this isn't going to end with anything like big or epic, because I think that I kind of would have had some hints at that. It's very slow moving. It's kind of like if you've read the series, you know that the 3rd book, like the end of it is like big stuff happens. And this is kind of like winding down from that. It does have a lot of like relevant information about the characters. Like there's a lot of history of some of the characters that they have never like talked about before in some of the books. So that was interesting. However, all the first 3 books were from Feyre's point of view. And I'm kind of used to that with these books. And this book skips around. Like it goes from Rhysand to Feyre to Morgan to Cassian, you know, it kind of jumps around. And I don't know if I like that or not. Because like I will be reading and I'm like, wait, this is not Feyre, this is Rhysand, because like something doesn't make sense, you know? So I basically had to make sure and read this like and stop at the end of a chapter, because when the next chapter picks up, it's like somebody else's point of view, so I have to get like my mind in the right like mindset of like, okay, who's talking right now. I really liked hearing from Morgan. Like I really liked kind of being in her head and hearing her thoughts. That part I did like, but I find that I am enjoying the Feyre chapters a lot more. I think that's just because like that's what I'm used to with these books, and I don't know, that just feels like comfortable to me. Anyways, it's good. I know a lot of people were really disappointed. I'm not disappointed. I knew it wasn't going to be like, I mean, it's not as long, so I knew it wasn't going to be like anything crazy. I think it is like a good like a bridge, you know, to the next trilogy, which I'm sure the next trilogy will be just as good as the first. So with that in mind, like I said, I haven't finished it yet, but I'm pretty sure this is still going to be a 4-star read for me. And the artwork, the cover is beautiful, like always, like all of her books. So I will have this one wrapped up today as well. I will put my review of this on Goodreads, and then I also usually put a little thing on Instagram as well. So if you guys haven't followed me yet, go down to the description box and there are links in there to follow me on both social media channels. And then that way you guys can see what my final thoughts on this book. Oh, my phone finally cooperated, and I actually gave Trespassing 4.5 stars. So had a lot of 4.5-star reads this month. So basically a really good reading month for me. I'm gonna wrap up the month with 7 books, and that's really good for me. I usually only read about 4 a month, 3 to 4. So 7 was really good. I'm hoping that in June I can read just as many. So be sure and check out my June TBR video that will be up shortly after this one, and you guys can see what I plan on reading for June. If you guys have a May reading wrap-up video, go ahead and leave it down in the comments. I'd love to check out your video and see what you read in the month of May. And other than that, I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.